Hello everyone! Tabletop Simulator for Riftbound might seem intimidating at first, but in this video I'll quickly walk you through how to install and operate Tabletop Simulator, as well as teach you the fundamental controls to allow you to play. If you want to learn how to play the game, check out my comprehensive guide that I have also posted. Otherwise, here's to the installation procedure. Let's start with installing Tabletop Simulator. So on your Steam homepage right here, you would search for Tabletop Simulator. You would click on it, and then you will either buy it from the Steam directly, or you can buy it from other key shops. Once you've bought and installed Tabletop Simulator, you will go to your library. You would go here, click on Workshop, and then you will search Riftbound right here. And you will click on this one, the newer one. And you will click this subscribe button. You just need to click this button once to subscribe to the mod. Once you've subscribed to the mod, as well as your Tabletop Simulator has finished installing, then you will go back to library and you will click play to launch Tabletop Simulator. So once we've gotten into the Tabletop Simulator menu, on the left side you can join other people's lobbies. All you have to do right here is search Rift, and it'll filter out all the Riftbound games that are available, and you can join one of those that's already made. Otherwise, you can create your own lobby, so click on the create button, multiplayer, and you can choose your server name. You can make it public or friends only. You can make a password, something simple like 1234, and you can limit the amount of players that are present in the server. You can change all of these later once you get into Tabletop as well. So I'll click create, and from right here I will click Riftbound, and I will load. It'll tend to freeze up a bit at the very beginning, but once it's loaded, it'll be fine. If you are the host, it'll automatically sit you down as the white player. However, if you're joining a lobby, it'll prompt you to choose a color. You can also change your color by going up here, pressing change color, and then choosing another color to choose which side you want to be on. You can press WASD to pan the camera around, to move it around. And to tilt the camera, you can hold right click on your mouse to tilt the camera around. Otherwise, you can also use your arrow keys to do the same thing. Using the scroll wheel will allow you to zoom in and out. Next, let's start importing a deck. So you will have to go right here. There are trial decks right here. You can click on one of them and press import deck. Otherwise, you can go to Piltover Archive to search for a deck, or create your own deck and import it through there. A quick walkthrough over Piltover Archive. Once you're on the website, you can go up here to decks. You can browse decks by other users, create your own deck through Deck Builder, or look at your saved deck through your My Decks page. We'll go to Deck Library. You can sort by the champion legend. So maybe I want to play Victor. I can sort by newest, most liked, most viewed. I will select this deck, and I will go here, copy to TTS. From here, I will click this once. I will press backspace or delete, and I will press Ctrl V to paste the deck I had from Piltover Archive, and I will press the import deck button to import my decks right here. Note you can mess it a bit up if you double click and you press delete and then screwing up the thing again. So in this case, you would have to click outside and you would click once again to delete the whole thing, and you'll probably paste it again. Otherwise, if that doesn't work, you would click one of the trial decks to spawn something in, click it again, delete it to make sure it's blank before you paste something in. Let's move on with some basic controls. We'll shift our perspective over here. We can right click to change our camera position, so if we want to keep it as third person, we could, or we can keep it top down. I'll shift it back to third person. In order to flip over our cards, we will hover over the card without clicking it, and we will press the F key. So we can flip both of these cards right here. In order to shuffle our deck, we would hover over our deck, and we will press R. Otherwise, you can right click on the pile and you can also click shuffle, but if you do that, sometimes you might hit cut or split. For drawing cards, we will hover over our deck right here, and we will press the number on our keyboard for the number of cards we want to draw. For example, if we want to draw 4 cards, we will press the number 4 on our keyboard, and we will draw 4 cards. The cards you drawn are not visible to your opponents. If you want to group your cards back up, you can drag a window over all your cards, and you can press the G key, and that will group out all your cards. To pick up all your cards simultaneously as a pack, you will hover over the deck, and you will click and hold to pick up all your cards. Again, if you press F, you can flip all of them at once. We want to make sure that both of the decks are shuffled before we actually begin play, so make sure to shuffle your rune deck as well as your main deck. To begin the game, in a best of 1, battlefields will be randomly chosen, so you will just shuffle your battlefield deck right here by pressing R, and you will just drag one on top right there. Otherwise, in a best of 3, you will have to look at your battlefields and choose one. To do this, cover and right-click over your battlefield deck. You will press search, and you are able to see all 3 of your battlefields right here, and you can select one that you want to use. Your opponent will also place a battlefield as shown, and then both of you will flip over your respective battlefields by pressing the F key. Don't worry if they don't snap into place right now, we can snap them later as well. Otherwise, you can try to fiddle around with them, and they might snap into place there. Next, we will determine turn order, and to do this, we'll be rolling dice. So you each have a dice right here, and you can roll it once by picking it up, shaking it around, and then throwing it across the table. Or you can go on the dice, right-click it, and press roll. Usually whoever rolls the higher dice amount will get to choose to go first or second. In this case, let's say we won the roll and we are going first. To start the turn order, we will go over here and we will click this button right here to determine turn order, and we will get a marker right here signifying that it is our turn. If your opponent is starting first, then you can just click on this to pass the turn to the opponent to allow them to start first. We will now perform our mulligan step, so we will draw 4 cards. And then we can choose cards to mulligan. If we do decide to mulligan, we would first flip them in our hand by pressing the F key. We would drag them over to this pile right here. We will press this recycle button right here. If you are using the recycle button to recycle cards, if you play them face up on the recycle pile, they will automatically be turned face down prior to being recycled by the recycle button. We will draw the amount of cards that we've mulliganed. Note that, again, you can only mulligan up to a maximum of 2. Since we did mulligan 2, we will draw 2 back. And that will be hovering over the pile and pressing the number 2. Another way you can slide cards underneath the deck, besides using this recycling feature, is we can drag our card out, and then either face up or face down. While holding the left mouse button, we can also click our right mouse button, and then slide it right underneath right here. So in this case, our card will be on the bottom. And we can check by picking up the whole deck and pressing F to flip it over. After we have mulliganed, we will now start our turn, and we will click on this ready button, which automatically generates 2 runes for us and draws us a card. In order to generate resources for us to play our characters from our hand right here, we need to tap our runes. We want to go up here to this bar up here, making sure that the rotation degrees is set to 90 degrees. We will now press Q or E to tap our runes and rotate it in a certain direction. Pressing E rotates it clockwise. Pressing Q rotates it counterclockwise. Since we've tapped 2, we are able to play a unit that costs 2 energy to our base. And again, units are played exhausted, so you will also have to tap them, unless otherwise stated. To move characters around, all you need to do is click on the character you want to move, and hold it, and just drag it to the battlefield or location you want it to be. Make sure that when you're moving units for your standard moving, that you are tapping them to exhaust them. If you have conquered or held a battlefield, you will get a point, and to increase your point counter right here, you would just click on the button right there. And if you make any mistake, you want to reverse it, you will right click to reduce the amount of points. When you have finished everything on your turn, you will then pass your turn to your opponent, and you can do that by clicking this bar up top. By clicking this, it will end your turn and pass your turn to your opponent. After engaging in combat, to remove the units that are killed in battle, they will enter trash, so you can either manually drag them into your trash pile right here, or you can decide to click this trash all button right here, which will spawn the unit back into the trash pile. To generate tokens in this game, the respective cards that generate tokens will have this yellow star that says spawn token, and all you have to do is click on it and it will generate the respective token. This is similar to buffs, so Cythria can buff herself when another unit is played, so when we click on the spawn token button, it will spawn a buff attachment that lingers onto Cythria of Cloudfield. Note that you do want to place these attachments more than half of the card that you're attaching it to, so once you pick it up, you'll pick both of them at once. Otherwise, if you do not, then you won't be picking them both at once, and it'll be a bit annoying. To look at specific cards, you can either decide to zoom all the way in with your mouse wheel, but I would not recommend that. Or you can hover over the card and press the Alt key, and then it will enlarge the card for you. And then with the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and zoom out to look at the cards. So you can view your own cards, you can view the battlefields, you can also view your opponent's cards right here by pressing Alt. To pay for something that requires a power, we need to either tap a seal or recycle a rune. To recycle a rune, for example by playing this Vanguard Captain, costing 3 energy and 1 yellow power, which means we need to recycle an order rune, we will click this corner button right here to cycle the rune back down to the bottom of our rune deck, like so. To hide a card at a battlefield, for example, we want to hide this hidden blade right here, we will recycle a rune to generate a power. We will go to our hand right here, we will flip the card over in our hand by pressing F, and then we will drag it to the battlefield we control to hide the card right there. Sometimes you forgot what card you've hidden, and that's okay. You can hover over the card right here, you can press both Shift and Alt to look at the card like so. And when you do this, a little eye symbol will appear that shows to your opponents that you are looking at this card. When you are starting your second turn or any subsequent turns, all you have to do is press the ready button and it will automatically ready your runes, your cards that were exhausted previously, as well as draw you another card. When you have won the game, you will get 1 set point, and you can click this counter up by 1. The fastest way to reset the board for the next game of the set is probably to trash everything. Note that tokens do not enter the trash. Next, we can either recycle all our runes, or we can drag a window over our runes, group them with G, then hold with our mouse, press F to flip them, put them in our rune pile, and we can group that again. Similarly with our trash, we can hold, press F to flip, put them on top of our main deck. Similarly, we can just drag a window over the cards in our hand, press G to group them, grab them both by holding our mouse button, flip them over, and put them on top of our main deck right here. Sometimes your champion partner will be dead in combat and will enter the trash and somehow also end up in the pile right here. So your pile with your champion partner in there should be consisting of 40, your rune deck will be 12, and your battlefield deck will either be 2 or 1. To get the champion partner out of the deck right here, we will right click and we will press search. And we can get our victor out of here by either scanning through our cards in here, or we can just type VIK, and then we can see victor right here. We can drag our victor and pull him out right there. When we are pulling out cards from our search, it will come in face down. So all we need to do is we need to press F to flip him back over, and basically we reset our board state. And again, remember to shuffle and shuffle before the next game. If we do want to clear the board right away, potentially to change to another deck or something, we first need to save our dice, so we want to drag our dice to the other side so we don't delete it by accident. We will drag a huge window all over all our things, and we will press the backspace button to delete it. Sometimes it doesn't delete all of them, so you might have to do it in multiple times, like so, but this is the fastest way to clear the board. If you did accidentally delete your dice, because the dice can be deleted like so, you can go over to the other boards right here and just yoink one of their dice. Otherwise, you have to go back to up top objects, components, and then dice right here and generate a d6 dice. We'll now go over some more advanced and nuanced things that may occur during your games. For example, if there's any cards such as Promising Future, to look at the top 5 cards of your main deck. Teemo, look at your reveal the top 5 cards of your main deck. Or Candlelit Sanctum, look at the top 2 cards of your main deck. Instead of drawing them and looking them at your hand, you can right click on the pile here, go search, and click on the number you want to search. So if I want to search 2, I will click on 2 right here, and I will see the top 2 cards of my deck right here. I can rearrange them in any order we want. So in this case, Heimerdinger will be the top card right here. If we do decide to take them out of our deck right here, we can drag them out, and when we pop them there, they will be face down, so you don't need to worry about your opponent seeing them. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you need to resize game objects, and you can do that by hovering over the object you want and pressing the plus button to grow it, or the minus button to shrink it back down. You can also do it to dice like so. So if I have a dice right here, I can grow it, or I can shrink it as well. Sometimes when you are grabbing a card from the field back to your hand, or something is being recalled back to your hand, and you don't want your opponent to know what position that card is, for example, by tapping Teemo, I can take this champion unit Teemo and place him back in my hand, and obviously it'll be this card right here, and my opponent will know that as well. So in order to do this and shuffle the Teemo around, we can just select our whole hand right here, and we can press R, and this will automatically shuffle the position of the cards around. And when we go hide this card out of battlefield, remember to flip it in your hand before, then the opponent won't know particularly what card we have hidden because the positions are randomized. Some other things, sometimes you need to mark a character with a larger amount, such as this Lee Sin here, which may have unlimited amount of buffs, so it is inconvenient to drag multiple attachments on it, and from that you can use a dice to mark the buffs instead. To set the number of the dice, you can hover over the dice and press the number you want to set. So if I want to set it to 3, I can press 3 on my keyboard to set it to 3. I can just put it on the Lee Sin, marking that my Lee Sin has an additional 3 might right here. If it goes all the way to 6, and potentially you have other cards that you want to spawn in and give buffs to, you can also clone the dice. So what we have to do is right click here, go to clone, and then just left click to spawn in the clone dice. To exit the cloning step, all we have to do is right click. Some actions in the game, such as cloning or deleting stuff, is only available to the host in this game. Otherwise, you need to go to your friends tab right here, right click it, and then there should be a promote button there, and if you promoted one of your buddies, they're also going to be able to access the same permissions that you have. Other miscellaneous things, you can go down here and click this button to change the playmat you want. For example, we want maybe a Teemo playmat. We can click on that, and then it'll take a while to load. But eventually our playmat will change to this color right here. There is also a deck builder built into the TTS system itself, but I would highly just recommend you using Piltover Archive rather than the in-game deck builder. Moving on to this side right here, if we head over right here, there is a brief rulebook that you can take a look at. You can just click around to take a look at the basic rules. The more advanced rules are posted by Riot in a blog post, linked with a PDF. They will also be in the description below. If for whatever reason you want to spawn in a specific card, you can look at the card number in Piltover Archive, or you can hover over the card. On the bottom left, you can see OGN.095/298. So the card number for this Stupefy right here is 095, and we can go over here to our card importer, and we can type OGN-095-1. So remember that 0 before the 95. It's not OGN-95-1. You can click import deck, and then it will spawn a card in our main deck. The Stupefy that we want will be spawned right here. Sometimes your game might be very laggy if you are matched across a player from across the ocean or from another continent. To potentially solve this issue, you can go to Menu, Configuration, Interface, MISC Settings, and then go drag around halfway down, and you can turn and slide that autosave interval back to 0 and make sure you hit apply. So this makes it so the game doesn't try to save, and it might help the game run a bit smoother. Sometimes when you're playing a lot and get overwhelmed, sometimes you don't keep track of the points and you don't know if you scored yet for this turn or not, you can go and check the chat log. So you can press enter and it will open the chat log, and you can see that when it was my turn, I did not score a point yet, so I can get a point right here. And by clicking it, it will also record it in the chat log right here. In a multiplayer game, you will be using this side of the board right here for a free-for-all or a 2v2. In a 2v2, you can invite your friends by pressing this plus icon up here. And then also, you want to be on the same team as your partner, so you go click right here. Instead of change color, you go to change team, and you can click one of these symbols right here. So if both you and your teammate are Diamond's team, then that means you can see your teammate's cards. To silently type to your teammate, you can also press enter to enter the game chat, then click on team right here, and you can type something to your teammate without the other team noting. In a 2v2, you may want to check and change the turn order of the players. So to do that, you will go to options and go to turns right here. And instead of automatic, you will click custom and you will drag the colors to the respective terms. So whoever's going first will be leftmost and then followed by subsequent players on the right. So if I want to make let's say green go first, we can drag green, and then red, and then we can do yellow, and then pink. So the turn order will progress green, red, yellow, pink, in that order. Lastly, when you're fed up with the game and you had enough, you can click this button right here and flip the table. If you totally did not mean to do this, you can rewind the game state by pressing this button right here to rewind the time. And usually this will freeze the game up a bit. Or you can also press Ctrl Z and it will also do the same thing, but you can see right now my game's frozen, so I would recommend you not doing this if you don't have to. And finally, the loading is complete, so it does take a while to go back to its original state. That is all from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and comment any suggestions below for me to improve my future videos. Feel free to message me on Discord, and I'll be happy to play a teaching game with you if I'm free. Bye bye for now.